Hello, and welcome back to MoJo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
This week we are discussing the Powerpuff Girls Season 3 episodes, Gettin Twiggy with It and Cop Out. But before we start talking about those episodes, just a request to leave us a comment or a review depending on what platform you're listening to this on if you haven't already, and maybe also subscribe if you haven't already. It would just really help us to get the podcast out there to more people, and we do appreciate the feedback.
And you can also check us out on our other podcast, What We Pod in the Shadows, where we are discussing the show What We Do in the Shadows, which is a comedy about vampires living on Staten Island. And we're currently on season 3 of that.
Yeah, so if you want to listen to us talk about some vampires who are a lot less evil than Dio, go ahead and check us out there. Alright, so I am going to start talking about Gettin Twiggy with It, which is a pun on Gettin Jiggy with It, which is a song by Will Smith. At Pokey-Oaks, Mitch Mitchelson plays Keep Away with Twiggy the class hamster's food. Blossom tells him to stop torturing Twiggy when the bell rings. Miss Keene declares that it's Friday, which means that someone has to take Twiggy home with them. Everyone raises their hand, but to the girls' horror, Miss Keene picks Mitch. They beg Miss Keene not to let him take Twiggy home because he'd be mean to her, but Miss Keene says to give him a chance. The girls fly to Mitch's home after school to keep an eye on him. He almost immediately starts playing loud music and leers evilly at Twiggy, but then asks if she'd like a treat. As the girls watch him through the window, they are relieved at first and start to fly away, but then Mitch shoves the entire container of treats in Twiggy's mouth and the hamster cries out. The girls switch course and fly into Mitch's trailer, where he's put poor Twiggy in a remote-control car and is driving her around aggressively. Blossom yanks the remote out of his hand and scolds him for terrorizing Twiggy. They say they'll take her home and tell Miss Keene, but he begs for another chance, and for some reason, they give it to him, but decide to watch him through a keyhole. As they watch, Mitch praises Twiggy for being a good hamster, but then proceeds to try to electrocute her. Like those clippy things you put, like, with a battery cable. I couldn't think of the battery cable.
Jumper cables.
Yeah. I couldn't think of that yesterday either when we were taking it. The girls intervene, and again, Mitch pleads for another chance, saying he's lonely and has never had a pet. However, inside his trailer, we can see a glass tank with a snake in it. He says they can watch him with Twiggy, and they agree. Mitch tells Twiggy he's going to put her on a hamster wheel, and they're going to have some fun, but really he's attached her to a small rocket, which then blasts off to the toilet. Girls are horrified, but are unable to save Twiggy in time before she is flushed down the toilet. In the sewers, Twiggy lands in some radioactive waste. The girls yell at Mitch, who says it was an accident. "You're an accident," says Blossom. Suddenly, there's a rumbling sound, and a gigantic, angry, and superpowered Twiggy bursts up through the toilet. Mitch literally bursts through the side of his trailer and hops on his bike. Twiggy chases Mitch through the trailer park and into the suburbs. Bubbles questions if helping Mitch is the right thing to do, and Blossom says it isn't, but they will anyways, and they zoom after Mitch and Twiggy. Twiggy catches up to Mitch on his bike and is about to eat him when the girls grab him out of the way. Mitch thanks them for helping him, and Blossom says they're not helping him. They're helping Twiggy. They dangle Mitch in front of Twiggy and scold him, and Mitch says he'll do anything to avoid being eaten. At school, presumably on Monday, Miss Keene apologizes to the girls for not trusting their judgment and says they came up with a great solution, which appears to be letting Twiggy chase after Mitch on a giant hamster wheel. And yeah, that ends the episode. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of either episode we're talking about this week, but that seems wild to me as a punishment. I think Mitch lives with his grandma. We saw her in the trailer. I'm pretty sure she'd be pissed to find out that he went to kindergarten and then the teacher put him in a hamster wheel with a giant, scary hamster who wants to eat him.
The kids are in kindergarten. I don't think that they would be taking the hamster home every weekend. It's probably the teacher's responsibility or maybe like the janitor. I'm not sure how that works. I'm trying to remember if we ever had pets at school and like what happened with them. But I mean, not every kid should have a pet, and it seems like there should be like a permission slip or something.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, like with it being a hamster, some people might have cats. Like, it just wouldn't be compatible. Like, she just picks a random kid. I think Mitch is kind of like a known bully also, so I don't quite understand Miss Keene choosing him.
Yeah.
He kind of reminded me of Sid from Toy Story, because, like, he had all that. He had, like, a bunch of tools in his room, and the way he was treating Twiggy.
Yeah, definitely see that.
And I just didn't know, like, the Powerpuff Girls gave him way too many tries.
Absolutely.
I didn't like what befell Twiggy. I was kind of hoping maybe Professor would step in and, like, know something that could be done. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's no reversing that because it's like she's giant and angry and she's just, like, ugly too. She's not, like, cute little Twiggy. To me, it did not have it. I didn't think it was like a good solution at the end. I'm not sure what should be done. Like Twiggy maybe has to be like in a zoo or something. I don't know. I understand why she's mad at Mitch and may want to eat him.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens if he gets tired and trips? And who's gonna stop Twiggy from eating him or biting him in half or something? I don't really feel super sorry for Mitch, other than like he's small and maybe can learn better. But I mean, that's not how you treat a pet. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the animal cruelty level on this was just like, it does not make for a very fun watch either. Like, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, oh boy, Gettin Twiggy's on. I better watch that one.
Yeah, I was just kind of alarmed through the whole episode.
And then since Mitch had a snake, but I know they never then like mentioned the snake, I was afraid he was going to try to feed Twiggy to the snake.
I thought so too. I thought he maybe, because like the container Twiggy was in was kind of small, and the snake was like in a bigger aquarium. Like, because they're little. I mean, I don't know. He probably has to feed that snake mice or something, but I just thought maybe he'd possibly stick him in there accidentally, not knowing that the snake would eat Twiggy. I don't know. Or on purpose.
Yeah,
because like oh, we don't have a mouse for Twiggy, or we don't have a mouse for my snake, so I will feed Twiggy to my snake. And like the grandma was kind of just like asleep the whole time. I don't know where the parents are.
I don't know how she didn't wake up when he literally burst through the side of the trailer.
Well, and he was playing like really loud music too.
Yeah.
Maybe she can't hear well.
Maybe.
Also.
I would think she would feel the trailer being like ripped apart though.
Yeah. I did have that Mitchelson was voiced by Tom Kenny, and then that Twiggy was, I guess the noises of Twiggy were voiced by Frank Welker. These episodes originally broadcast September 22nd, 2000. And I think these are season 3, episode 8 and 9. So like all of these so I'm moving on to Cop Out, but the main cops or police, I don't know. I keep wondering, like, is cop like not a nice way to refer to police? And why is it cop?
I have heard 2 different things, and the one is that the badges used to be made out of copper.
Oh.
And then the other one is that it used to stand for constable on patrol.
Okay.
So I'm not sure which of those is more accurate or not. But...
So all of them, Officer Mike Brakowski, the chief of police, and Officer Perez are voiced by Jeff Bennett. Officer Mike Brakowski is a lazy cop on Townsville's police force. He falls asleep when the bank is being robbed, and his partner Perez has to call for backup. The police department surrounds the bank, and Brakowski is still asleep when the Powerpuff Girls show up and take out the perp. The cops leave, and Perez drives away with the still sleeping Brakowski. When Brakowski wakes up, Perez excitedly tells him about the robbery and Powerpuff Girls. Brakowski says the Powerpuff Girls are jerks who take jobs away from the police. They drive by a donut place as Brakowski goes on about the Powerpuff Girls stealing his spotlight and that he's up for a promotion. When they get back to the station, the chief calls him in and fires him for being incompetent. The chief lets him keep his gun, but takes his sunglasses and donut. Brakowski breaks the glass on a picture of the chief with the Powerpuff Girls and says that the chief has to make cuts because of the Powerpuff Girls taking their jobs and is taking it out on him. Brakowski turns on the news once he's back at home, and it shows their coverage of the robbery, including footage of Brakowski sleeping. The newscasters sing the praises of the Powerpuff Girls as Brakowski sends his TV sailing out the window. The next day, Brakowski bursts into the mayor's office in police uniform and says that the police confiscated weapons warehouse is being robbed. So the mayor calls in the girls. They go to the warehouse. Officer Perez has been following Brakowski. The girls find MoJo's confiscated stuff when a gas tank with a clown head lets out gas that causes them to pass out. Brakowski turns it on with a remote. When the girls wake up, they're being lifted into a huge vat of acid with a crane. The cops all come and arrest Brakowski, but are too slow to stop the girls from being dropped into the acid. The girls are fine, however, just their clothes are a little. I think it was just like their clothes are eaten away some, but...
Yeah, wasps. Oh.
I mean, it's like the day was saved, and they like include the police and helping saving the day, but this dude just had like a bad attitude the whole time, and like I could see if he was actually trying to do his job and then kind of getting frustrated if like the Powerpuff Girls coming in and like kind of saving the day at the very last minute or whatever, but
yeah,
like I could see even Officer Perez maybe even being a little frustrated with that. But Brakowski just did zero.
Yeah, he was literally sleeping on the job.
He was sleeping like the whole time, and then even the news crew caught him sleeping.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like the girls can't. I mean, there's 3 of them. I guess they could separate, but I mean, I'm sure there's times when the police have to take care of some things if it's smaller things or like the girls are busy with something else. I don't think there was any mention by the mayor of anything of like cutting the police force or anything. That was just like that he just kind of had like a chip on his shoulder. None of the other cops were complaining about the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Just him, who was the laziest of all of them.
Yeah. All he did was sleep and eat donuts, and that was about it.
And I mean, he kind of put his partner in danger.
Yeah, he was like getting shot at during the robbery, and so he had to call for backup.
I'm not sure why the chief let him keep his gun.
Yeah. Oh, that was the one gag I enjoyed in the episode. It's just like, well, you can still keep your gun as a souvenir. I don't know if that's like it's supposed to be like commentary and like how guns are viewed over here in the States or not, or if it was just like, wouldn't it be funny if he took everything, including his donut, but still let him keep his gun?
Maybe. They should have had him return his uniforms too, because that's part of how he was able to fool the mayor. Although fooling the mayor isn't that hard. He probably could have like rented or bought a fake policeman's costume and still fooled the mayor. But
yeah, like if it was like close enough to Halloween, he could probably just like get like a flimsy like spirit Halloween police outfit and still fool the mayor.
I'm not sure how Brakowski had access to like that warehouse though. I mean, maybe the chief needed to take some keys away too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it did kind of show their incompetence a bit at the end when they didn't know how to use the remote control to stop the crane from slowly lowering them into the acid. It's like, it kind of almost looked like it was like the entire police department.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just more like there's like too many of them.
Maybe. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. I guess I kind of get him like being upset, like it's like he needs a scapegoat or whatever, but they're still like little girls.
Yes.
And like his job is supposed to be protecting people. So trying to, I don't know, there's been several different kind of like disgruntled, usually it's men who just want to murder them because
Yeah.
I don't know, they don't like them for some reason. So it's kind of a little bit of a theme that we see here and there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like I think that that was like the season premiere of the Fallen Arches one, so we've seen that a couple times just in this season. I'm not sure what could have been done to make the episode better. I just didn't think it was that great, except for that one gag. Maybe if it had just been like, and I'm not sure if they would have done this in like 2000 or not. Like, it's like a commentary on like police incompetence and stuff, but I don't know. There's just kind of like, just this one guy sucks.
I feel like maybe it would have been, I don't know, it might have been a longer episode, but just if Perez seemed like fan of the girls,
Yeah.
but if maybe there was more who were kind of disgruntled like Brakowski,
Yeah.
because they did kind of do the work and then the girls come in at the last minute and they're on the news as the heroes, even though, they can't really be hurt by bullets and maybe didn't do all the detective work and stuff, but we kind of laid it on thick with like the donut thing and like him just sleeping. I mean, he was like an older, kind of like a senior citizen.
Yeah, his hair was all white and stuff.
Officer. I mean, he probably should have just retired. I'm not sure why he was thinking he would get a promotion to what.
Yeah. I'm like, and how long has he been a cop too? And he's like still in the uniform and not like he's gotten upgraded to where he can be like a plainclothes cop, or maybe that's only if you're like a detective. I'm not actually sure.
I'm not sure why his partner didn't report him, because I'm sure that's not the first day that he just slept through everything.
Probably not. I guess I have a little bit of trivia. So first off, the donut shops are parodies of existing fast food franchises, with Wendy's spelled like the wind being a parody of course, Wendy's, the fast food burger restaurant, and Donut King being a parody of Burger King. And so the next part is from the wiki, so I'm not sure if it's like them just, well, these are both from the wiki, but if this one is just them like supposed, or if like Jeff Bennett actually like said who he based the voices on. But wiki says that each character he voiced in the episode was based on a parody of a celebrity, Bukowski being a combo of Jack Nicholson and Danny DeVito, Perez being based on Cheech Marin, and the police chief being based on Danny Glover as his character in Lethal Weapon. I'm always very impressed by Jeff Bennett's range when we look at this shit later. I'm like, oh, he did all that.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't expecting him to have done all three.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Hank Azaria on the Simpsons, where it's like just many voices, many accents.
The next two episodes we are going to be discussing are called Jewel of the Isle and Super Zeros. I haven't seen those in a little bit, but I remember enjoying those much more than these two, so that might be more of a fun watch and discussion and stuff.
I don't remember those titles, but I hope it's like maybe Indiana Jones type thing, the Jewel of the Isle. Or maybe not.
Jones parody could be cool.
Well, there's like Jewel of the Nile, and it's...
Yeah. I figured that's what it was a pun on.
Like, it's not Indiana Jones, but it's like where you're finding treasure. Lost.
Yeah. It's still kind of that same genre.
Yeah.
I remember those both being pretty fun episodes, or at least ones that I enjoy anyhow. So we will talk about those Next time, make sure to watch them ahead of time so we don't spoil them for you. And just a reminder that if you haven't already, push all those buttons for us, depending on where you're listening. Comment, review, like, subscribe, etc.
Share with your friends.
Yeah, share with your friends. Whether they're already a fan of Powerpuff Girls or JoJo or both, or you're trying to get them into one or the other, to be a good place for them to get caught up. So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.